So, can you please state for the record your name and birth date?
Aaron L. Davis, or Aaron Lee Davis. My birth date is 13 February 1969.
All right, so can you please state what war you served in and the branch of service?
I served in the Iraq War in the U.S. Army, and I've been deployed also on 2 peacekeeping missions in Bosnia and in Kosovo.
Can you please state your highest rank achieved?
I'm currently a major.
Okay.
All right, so the date and place of this, it is Davis, California, and this is the
13th of
13th
December.
of December. Maybe.
Okay, and my name is Mandy Hart. This is Shanti Russell.
And I'm assisting the interview.
And the interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. Okay, so that's the introduction. So we can start chronologically. Would you like to tell us about what you're doing before you joined the military and how you got involved?
I was a student at UC Davis, and I was in the ROTC program. I had originally tried for a scholarship, and I did not get it, and I was kind of told at the time that they had too many freshmen coming in, and they would start with the scholarship and then kind of decide not to pursue it. So that I said, come in, give it a year, and if you're doing well, then we'll give you a scholarship for your second year and through the rest of your time at Davis. So I did that. They offered me the scholarship, and then I didn't really like the idea of somebody controlling my fate at that point. So I opted out of the scholarship and just continued in the program. And I graduated in 1991. I had the honor of being instructed by a Medal of Honor winner, and he was a phenomenal guy by the name of John Caviani. He lives in Turlock, California now, and he just gave me some great practical skills in leadership and infantry skills that really helped me out. And I was commissioned in 1991 and went into infantry training, and I was eventually assigned to the 7th Infantry Division at Fort Ord, California, and got out in 1994, went into the reserves, went into psychological operations, and I've really enjoyed that, but the nature of the reserves changed pretty dramatically about the time I was going into it. I went from kind of a static organization to something far more dynamic, and so shortly after I went into the reserves, I became a company commander, and after a command tenure, we went right into kind of peacekeeping operations. So I did a tour in Bosnia, came back about a year and a half later. I did a tour in Kosovo, and then that was right about 2001, and then 9/11 occurred, and we've been into Afghanistan and Iraq since then. So I've done 2 tours in Iraq, and I am of the opinion that I will probably end up doing a tour in Afghanistan at some point. And my tours in Iraq were 2003, 2004, and then in 2008 and 9.
So, what were you mostly doing in these tours?
The first tour in Iraq, I was a tactical detachment commander. I worked in central Baghdad with the 1st Brigade Combat Team of the 1st Armored Division. My sector of the city was everything east of the Tigris River, and my job was to work on the attitudes, opinions, and kind of getting the civilian population and the combatant population there to kind of align themselves with what we were trying to accomplish in the city. So I had about 15 guys that worked for me. They were spread out across a couple different battalion areas, and we worked the city collectively, kind of off of one plan, trying to provide people the information that they needed so they could kind of make good decisions for themselves.
So, okay. So what did your family think of your choice to go into the military?
my parents didn't really have much of a say in it. I mean, I had gone off to college, and kind of ROTC was more of a program you got into. So they were aware of it. They didn't really support it or dissuade me from being in it. They saw that it had a good influence on me and that I was enjoying it, so they kind of let it be. My wife, my then girlfriend, she was aware of it, and she and I had a pretty frank discussion about it early on, and she knew it was important to me, and so she's always been very supportive. But understandably, it has been a burden also, especially with the amount of deployments. I think when I came off of this last deployment, I was looking at my DD-214, which is it's a single sheet that kind of encapsulates your entire career, all the things you've done, where you've gone, the awards you have, things like that. And you normally will review this document for its accuracy, and then you sign off on it, and that's kind of your official record at the time you separate from active service after a deployment. And one of the boxes was total time overseas, and it was like 4.9 years. And so for me, I've got 3 children, and I hadn't really thought of it in its cumulative at that point, but that was a long time to have been gone, and that kind of sucker punched me there in Fort Carson, Colorado. So that's a long time to be gone. I think I've missed all of my children's first birthdays, which is pretty sad, but necessary. That was kind of the price we pay sometimes. And my oldest son, I've missed way too many of his birthdays.
How did you keep in contact with your family while you were gone?
Email is a great thing. That's been probably primary, and then the signals capacity, in the armed services, they've got a pretty robust capacity to help soldiers call home, within a time frame that's reasonable. Are you able to, as I've deployed through Bosnia and Kosovo and into Iraq, when I was in Bosnia and Kosovo, you could call about every 10 days. By the time I was in Iraq, and as things started to mature in late '03, if you were really motivated, you could probably call home every couple of days. But I think that was also excessive. I mean, it's great if you can talk to people, but it's kind of dangerous, because you're talking to people around the world that are in a whole different circumstance than you're in, or than the one you find yourself in, and that can create stress on a soldier that maybe isn't the best thing at that time. So I tend to call home about every 3 weeks when I've been deployed. It's not as upsetting to children and to my wife, and then potentially upsetting to me. And for me, when I was going out, especially, I was out of what they call out of the wire. I was out of the wire a lot in my first tour, and I really didn't need to be distracted when I needed to be, completely focused on what I was doing with the soldiers I was leading at the time.